We're good? So, going over the Pro R development, we've already done quite a bit, I guess. The original video was lost, but basically we started off with a bone stock machine, did our normal like 5 runs. I think the machine averaged like 201, I guess it'd probably be. It did the Polaris thing. 200 to 201 was the 5 poles averaged out. So we had similar situations with the Pro R 4-cylinder that we experienced with the Pro XP in the clutching department, like kind of in the higher RPM ranges. So we played around with the clutching a little bit. This has got a lot of prototype stuff from Chris, some springs that we found from other applications that we've tried, and I think we've gotten some of those Pro XP issues to go away. But just with tuning, and I would say probably most of the power so far has come from tuning. I'd say our clutching isn't like amazing yet, but we've made 220 to 221, I'd say consistently. That's probably, I don't know, we've probably done like 30 or 40 poles, and since I got done tuning, and we've been trying to get the power to be better with clutching. But I'd say we're sitting at 220 basically every time now with the clutching changes. The clutching is not as important. I wouldn't say important. The RPM is not as important as we were thinking it might be. This engine, after we've tuned it, has a very wide power range. We've had this engine from 7,600 to 8,500 RPM, and it's basically within 1 horsepower. So I could see the desire to want to do that from Polaris, because it is naturally aspirated. So a turbo machine you can manipulate the tune, so it basically makes very similar power at sea level or at high elevation. But for it being naturally aspirated, it will make a large change in horsepower. So the clutching, you know, it's a non-adjustable setup factory. So like if you go to high elevation, the engine speed's gonna fall. It's not gonna be like so detrimental to the machine that the engine speed drops a little bit, or if you come down to sea level and the engine speed goes up, it's not gonna be like over the power band. So our initial goal with this is to build a pump gas tune for it. I'd say we're pretty dang close to like being finished with the tune. There's a couple other things I want to play with. We're gonna do some alternate fuel stuff. We're gonna do some header development, some affordable mods, see if we can extract some power in other areas. So we're gonna go over that, but I mean, basically, I would expect us to be releasing the pump gas tune around the 220 mark. So we can calculate out the crank horsepower estimate based on that number, but I would guess it's gonna be 240, I guess. So the machine's rated at 225, it made 200-ish, so 25 horsepower loss, it'd be about 245 or so. But it's progress. I'm happy that there was some gains to be made with just tuning on this thing. It wasn't very, it wasn't like an engine that like wouldn't take any changes that we put into it, so that's good. And yeah, I guess stay tuned. We're gonna do a video series on all the stuff we do. So subscribe to this and watch all the stuff we do with this machine. So we, you know, just to kind of go in a little bit more depth here, we added wide bands per cylinder to monitor each cylinder's air-to-fuel ratio. Because the header is, it's an interesting header for a 4-cylinder. It is well designed, I feel, but it is a little interesting that they merge so quickly. But there is cylinders that are better, like the header is better shaped than other cylinders. So we can monitor each cylinder's air to fuel ratio and an average between all 4 of them, and then make changes to each cylinder individually. And then we have basically 4 wideband controllers back here, and then we wired up a little external ECU that we can add even more sensors into. But having this little ECU I plug into, I run a data log on this ECU as well as the factory one, and then view them together and then make changes to each cylinder individually. So this is important, definitely like extremely important when you're trying to extract all the horsepower out of a naturally aspirated vehicle. It is something we do in turbocharged stuff, but it gets a little more complicated when the pressure, like, because you're building a lot of back pressure in a turbo stuff. So the numbers might lie to you unless you have like a pressure compensation for it. But yeah, that's just another level of what we're doing. We're going to do the same thing when we put a header on it and make sure that we're having even distribution and cylinder power per each cylinder is consistent. So I think this is going to be the tune that we actually like do our field testing with. As you can see, factory tune at, this is 40 miles an hour, 201. Our tune is 223 to 222. You know, out at 65 miles an hour, 202 to 185. So 15, 18 to 17, 18 horsepower there. You can really see this is what we were talking about with the factory Pro R secondary spring. Like kind of after 60 miles an hour, the machine would buck, which I always felt like the secondary is like the weak link to the holding of the belt. Like I know the primaries explode and stuff, but so we, did change some stuff up here to make it a little more consistent. Like you can see, it's way flatter up here on our tune, but the clutching isn't as amazing as it could be here. The factory clutch combo actually makes a little bit more in that area, so we're going to clean that up. But you can see the factory AFR is a little swoopy. Ours is like a straight line all the way across. Each cylinder is even, so we made adjustments per cylinder. And yeah, so we're gonna go and run this particular tune in the field in cold weather, hot weather. Right now is a decent time of year to do it because it's pretty cool in the morning. This machine does act different when it's cool versus warm, particularly AFR. It doesn't do a great job of compensating for fueling when intake temp is, say, 65, 70 degrees versus when it heat soaks and it's at like 100 degrees. So we're going to play with all that stuff, but yeah, I mean, this is basically going to be, I'm pretty confident this is going to be what we end up with. The way to tune these machines is a little bit different than previous years. We'll always need the ECU at least once. So if you decide to do the HP Tuners route where we send our tuning device to you, you'll still need to send us the ECU to do that initial unlock. After that, you can do all the flashing yourself. So any updates or changes or fuels or other modifications, we'll just send them to you over the cloud. We'll also be offering a bench flash only. So if like all you want to do is a simple pump gas tune and that's it, you can send us the ECU, we'll bench flash it, send it back to you, and you'll be able to put it in your machine and run it. So those are going to be the two tuning options. We'll get that listed after we do all of our testing that we do. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.